what we see that's been happening is basically we see the halakha that would apply to the Christian, they're applying it to the Noahide. So they invent a word that's called Noahide,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then they put the halakha, the most stringent halakha that would be for the Christian, and then they apply that halakha to this Noahide. And so that's the whole reason for inventing a word called Noahide. Why? Because it doesn't have any halakha associated with it. But if you could take that word Noahide and say, okay, we're going to place the halakha of an akum, let's just say,
Hmm.
an idol worshiper, and the same halakha that they would apply for the Christian, uh, they would, and then they put it onto the Noah. If they said Ger Toshav or something else that was grounded
Kosher.
in
I mean,
uh,
that was in
was
Torah.
grounded in the sources, yeah, rabbinical
Yeah.
sources like a Ger or Ger Toshav or this or that, it would be they couldn't say that because it already has an established identity, and it wouldn't work for them. So they invent the word Noahide, and then they apply whatever halakha they want to with it, which is the most stringent. But we have to look at one thing and say that if
I don't think they
there's Jews
invented the word Noahide though. I don't think the
what
Jewish people had anything to
who
do
would
with the
have
word Noahide.
who would have done it?
We did. I think the Gentiles did. I
I
mean,
don't I
because
don't
what? I mean, well, okay. When was it first started to be used? Because there's no sources that have any age to them, that would use the term Noahide. So it would be. I don't see how a Jewish person wrapped in tradition, and that was that was a Torah scholar, but he was like, oh well, you're a Noahide. That doesn't make any sense because the word don't even exist. You know what I mean?
Well, it
Well, what am I,
happened.
Robert? I'm a Noahide.
Well,
Now they
it
might have said,
happened.
"Hey, you fall under the Noahide laws," and somebody said, "Well,
Well,
I
then
guess
there
I'm a
again,
Noahide."
there's no source for Noahide laws. There's the seven Sheva mitzvot. Don't have the word Noahide in it.
Yeah. Well.
It was a rabbinical uh, modern, and I'm talking about a relatively modern uh, well word that was associated with the Noahide movement, which we're talking about probably 1990, maybe late 80s, but 1990s. Even Vendell Jones, and I listened to some of his old teachings and stuff like that, trying to see when he used or if he used Noahide in the early days, and I've never found one. I'm not saying he didn't, but I can't find any teachings. Ben Vendel would say B'nai Noah, even at the 1990 conference, and some of that Vendel used B'nai Noah. Now I'm not saying it's not in there. Just I've never found it. I've looked at some books and found the word Noahide. In about 1976, I see where it's used by, uh, I'm not going to say that they may have been secular scholars or just from a scholarly books that wrote about something and talked about the seven laws and maybe called them Noahide laws. And then, of course, we can see that the 21st level of the Scottish Rite in um, Masonry, or whatever you call that stuff. Um, it's called the Noahide laws. They didn't call it Noahide, but they definitely called it Noahide.
No height. It's
And
very interesting. I'll have to look that up.
So that would take that back toward the 1700s. But Noahide is actually even a better word, uh, in a sense, to use than Noahide. But these it became associated with the this idea of a righteous non-Jew from the nations following the Torah that pertained to him. The word evolved with the within the rabbinical realms. It had to, if I don't know who would have coined it, maybe a Gentile coined it, but the rabbis certainly picked up on it and used it because they had a dilemma. And the
Now, yeah,
dilemma
I'm not.
is
Yeah,
they called the convert a ger. And in the Torah, we know that the word ger means, it's translated as stranger,
stranger.
but then it also means, it can mean convert, and it can mean a righteous person from among the nations.
It
Okay,
just depends on the
and
context. Yeah,
it depends on the context on everyone. Sometimes it can actually mean both, um, because it's Gary. It's a neutral word that depends on the context to identify what it's talking about. But since they started calling these converts Ger, obviously it's very confusing for them to do that because Deuteronomy 14:21 is going to say that the Ger can eat, or the Ger in your gate, according to the context, can eat the nevela. So we know that ger can't mean convert, especially in that context,
right. Because they can eat the
and
novella.
because they're not going to eat the nevela. So
Yeah,
it's confusing, but they had this dilemma because they've allowed it, and why? Because there wasn't Noahides for 2,000 years. So what are you going to do?
right.
So the converts a ger. And so, bless their heart, these converts get all upset at people using Ger because, hey, you're trying to steal my little identity that I got, and when they know the text doesn't include them exclusively, and but bless their heart, they've went through the measures that it took to become accepted within the community, and they deserve the status that they have. There's no doubt in my mind that.
Yeah,
But
and I think too, a lot of it, looking at this whole Noahide, you know, uh, debate, I guess you could call it, but it's really more of it's a mission to just to seek the truth like we do in Torah. So eh, I can understand. I can. I think we can all step back and take a minute and say, look, I get why the Jewish people act the way they do about it. I mean, here you have Christianity, that claims that there's this new covenant, and Israel's not the chosen people anymore. I mean, he's gonna follow through and hold true to his covenant he made with them. But really, these are the new priests. This is the church. We have a new covenant. And then you have inside that, you have different movements. You have the Messianics who act completely Jewish. I mean, if you want to talk about robbery of heritage, that right there is the worst display of it. You know what I mean? I mean, you're. I mean, they look like Jews. They somewhat they talk like Jews. They say they do the Sabbath. I mean, just depending on which one you talk to, because they don't even know what they're doing. Half of them. I'm not saying they're not smart people or intelligent people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's definitely a slap in the face, and you're robbing somebody's heritage by acting like that and not being a Jew. I mean, I don't care who you are. You heard it here. If you walk out in the street and you walk like it, you talk like it, you wear the clothes, you use the words, people are gonna assume you're Jewish. But people that know you're not. That is robbing somebody's heritage. Okay, that and I understand how that can make somebody upset. I've never been in that situation. I'm just a old country boy from Texas, so there's nothing to really rob here. But it I can understand how they can say, look, we don't want to, this is just another spinoff, just like the Messianics from Christianity. And here comes another one. Y'all just trying to be more Jewish because y'all think y'all, y'all got this new covenant, even though y'all say, oh, well, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in Jesus, or, well, that's fine. But it's the same thing. You're the same thing. You're just coming here to get information from us. You want to learn from us. We're going to teach you, and you're going to go out, and then eventually, 100 years from now, it's going to be this big movement. You're going to have Noahide centers. I understand their fears and concerns. Absolutely. You can't. Anybody that denies that is not being honest with themselves and not being honest with the movement in a whole, because there is a lot of problems, and the word Noahide, it's not the right word to use. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is if you look from the Jewish perspective and say, look, y'all can't even get the name right of what y'all are. You know what I mean? Y'all try to say you're Noahide. What is that? That don't even exist within Torah, but you want us to teach you Torah, and you call yourself something outside of Torah. Y'all need to get it right. First, identify what you are. Now, I know you'll say, well, we have, and rabbis say, oh, we're not Ger Toshab, we're not Ger because converts. Well, we need to, we're pulling the sources and we're coming to them and saying, well, this is what this rabbi, this is what this sage said, this is what this one, and we're learning about the three different viewpoints, just like you talked about earlier. And that's the process that we're going to have to go to, not just to prove to them, hey, we this is something we will hold sacred, that we will guard just like you guard it, and we want to be taught. You know what I mean? But when you have people, and everybody's guilty of it, you get on there and you put a keep on, and you walk down the street, or you have the mezuzah on your house, and you tell people, oh, I got to make it home for Shabbat, and then, oh, you're gonna be at the baseball game tomorrow? Oh yeah, I'll drive up there and see y'all up in Dallas tomorrow on Saturday. You see how I can anybody that said they don't understand why the Jewish people feel the way they do about it, they're not being honest. Do I do Shabbat? I don't keep Shabbat. I do it as memorial. I light the candles at the time, and that, to sanctify the day, because I'm doing it strictly for the sake of heaven. I don't tell people I'm Jewish. I don't act Jewish when I go on the street. I wear the keep, when I do my prayers, I wear it. All that is something I do, all that out of respect of the Jewish people and for the sake of heaven, lighting the candles as memorial. You know what I mean? So I think first, what we need to do as a movement is to take an honest look in the mirror and say, where do we fall short? You know what I mean? Okay, these are our shortcomings, and this is why we're in the situation we're in. Now, you know this better than anybody, Russell, and you can probably talk about this a little bit more. It don't matter what you do or how you act or how right you try to do something, there's still going to be people against it. There's still going to be rabbis that don't want nothing to do with it, that they're going to spend their whole time and all their efforts to disprove every source and every point you try to make. And all you're doing at the end is trying to identify, what am I? And you'll get nothing but pushback. Those people you can't do nothing with. But there's a lot of good rabbis out there. If you approach them the right way and you're respectful and you act like you're supposed to act and do what you're supposed to do, they're more than willing to sit there and teach you. You know what I mean? So it's I think it just comes down to respect and us being honest with ourselves about, and really stop using the word Noahide. I mean, if you want to know the truth, there has to come a day when we have to start, separating ourselves from something that's not in the Torah. If you're trying to become, develop a relationship with your Creator, but you're calling yourself something that's not even within the realm of Torah, then that's how you identify to Torah, by using this terminology, this word that don't exist in Torah. Stop and think about it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.